Hello, and welcome to another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road. The Midwest Rail Rangers, our 501c3 nonprofit organization, presents onboard educational programs across the Midwest. You may have caught us on the South Shoreline, between Chicago and South Bend, Indiana, aboard the Sky Parlor car at the Wisconsin Great Northern, on an Amtrak charter organized by the 20th Century Railroad Club of Chicago, on private rail excursions featuring heritage equipment, and at various outreach events such as Train Fest and Mad City Rail. In March of 2020, the coronavirus sidelined most of our programs. After taking a few months off, we returned with virtual programs, taking you to exciting rail destinations across Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, and Wisconsin. With 2021 now here, we hope to begin the transition back to doing in-person programs. During the months ahead, though, we will continue to bring you new virtual programs as well. So sit back and relax and enjoy another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road.
Defects. Total axle 550 out.
Your next clue.
Well, hello everyone. This is Candace Taborn coming to you again from the railroad that we visited 3 weeks ago. And this time we're going to take you on a motor car ride. So we're here with Ed and Ron again, and they're going to show us the ins and outs of a motor car.
Okay. Now if we remember, we did one earlier this spring. We went to International Falls.
That's right.
With Linton Brooks, and Linton gave us our first motor car ride.
That's right.
So
Not powered, but this time hopefully powered.
this is actually powered motor car. Yeah, he just kind of pushed it, but that was still fun. That was our first. So now we've got this year, 2021. We've got into all this motor car ride stuff. So all right, so take it away. What do we got?
All right, show us what we got, guys.
Well, we're outside here.
All right. Oh, there's the caboose we saw 3 weeks ago.
There you go.
All right, so now I know where we are.
That's right.
These are both Fairmont motor cars. They've got a 2-cylinder owning engine in them with a 2-speed transmission. The older cars, most of them had 1-cylinder engines in them, and they were belt drive. These are chain drive. These were later in life in the motor car way of things, and they ran these right up till they started putting high rail gear on pickups.
Okay.
This is what the track inspector and the track workers would take out to do their work every day. They'd pull a little cart behind them and carry their materials, and they'd go out and work for the day and come back. It's turned into a hobby for a lot of people. That you buy one of these used cars and you restore it. You can get organized with a club. There's one on the West Coast. There's the Narcoa club that's pretty much nationwide, and I think there's one starting on the East Coast. And become a member. They mentor you to make sure that you're a safe operator.
Okay.
And you, somewhere in the country, on a year where we don't have COVID, almost every weekend, somewhere in this country, there's a motor car ride.
Okay.
And you pay a ride fee, and you have to have insurance, which comes through the national organization usually. And you go out, and it might be a 10-mile ride, it might be a 100-mile ride.
Wow.
It just depends on where you're at. It's a fun hobby. It really is. All the people that are involved are really nice, good people. If you have a problem, there's 5 people standing there to help you.
So what?
Everybody's friendly. And it's relaxing. You get down along the rivers and stuff in these motor cars, and the scenery is beautiful. It's something you're never going to see on the interstate. And have a lunch figured out somewhere. And just spend the whole day going about 20 miles an hour.
So what year were these? And what year you said that they've stopped making these two? That
They made motor cars up into the early 1980s.
okay, and that's when they started. You said the pickup trucks.
Yeah, started putting rail gear on trucks.
And what era? What era are these two from?
They're both in the early 70s, I think.
Okay, so relatively newer on the scale of motor cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ones with the gas 2-cylinder engines, they became pretty prevalent in the late 60s and early 70s, and before that they were 2-stroke 1-cylinder hopper engines. And that's just the way the railroad worked for many, many years.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get a closer look at these here. Any idea? Can you share what rough price range if somebody was interested in one of these? What's the lowest price to the highest price that you've seen for?
You find one that needs a lot of love.
It'll be
It's
cheaper.
a solid car, but it needs a lot of attention. Repainted, the engine may need rebuilt. You can buy a car like that for anywhere from $1,000 to maybe $2,000.
Okay.
You get into a car that's been fully restored, fully painted, and they can range anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, just depending on what kind of car it is, the history of it. Some are a little more rare than others, and it's like muscle cars and stuff. Certain people want to have a certain thing. I've seen these things sell for as high as $12,000.
12,000. Okay.
Wow.
And they're a fully enclosed car.
Oh.
Beautiful paint job. They've got heaters in them.
So it's kind of like maybe a private rail car, but a lot maybe more affordable for people. You can get them from, if you're not mechanically inclined like Candace and I, especially me, you could get them where they're in good shape, where you only have to really concentrate on riding them and maintaining them. And so if you don't want to have to do a lot of the mechanical work, you're going to pay a little bit more for that, but then you don't have to worry about the
There's a
mechanical.
couple different websites where people list them for sale.
Okay.
And like I say, you can buy them in just about any condition. Something that needs completely gone through, if you're the mechanical type, up to the cars that are ready to go.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a closer look at this one here. What railroad would this have been?
I don't really actually know the honest history of this.
Okay.
We think it was a Missouri Pacific car, but we've never been able to track it down. So when I restored it, since I wasn't sure of the history, I just made it a Burlington and Missouri River car.
Oh, okay.
Which, of course, before, they probably never owned a motor car.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had hand cars at the time, but the one behind you there, that's a Milwaukee Road car.
So that you got the history of. Is that the original number, 8254?
Yes.
Okay.
And with these cars, they had a front and a roof on them.
Mm-hmm.
The back was canvas, and the sides were canvas if you needed
Okay.
weather protection.
Which
Well,
in Wisconsin you probably
in
did.
Wisconsin,
Yeah.
like we're saying, the guys would literally almost freeze to death doing their work during the day. So the Milwaukee Railroad, they took a whole bunch of these cars, took them into their Toma shops.
Toma. Yes, we love Toma.
Took them into their Toma shops. They made sides and backs for them
Okay.
and put heaters in them. To try to make their employees just a little more comfortable in their day's work. And one of the unique things about a Milwaukee car, a Fairmont car that has a door is usually in the middle.
Okay.
They always open to the back. The Milwaukee was really thinking when they built their cars. As their doors open to the front, the windows line up so you can see if anybody's coming at the railroad crossing.
Ah.
But if it was to start raining while you were riding, the other kinds of cars, you had to stop, get out, unlatch the door behind, and pull it shut.
And they actually have the Toma. So that's how you know, because it said Toma cab on it?
Well,
Is that your lettering?
somebody else did that, but If you're in the motor car field, you know what a Toma cab is.
Oh, okay.
But Milwaukee, when they did this, they made it so you could pull that handle from sitting in the seat.
Oh, look at that.
And the
Oops.
wind would bring it around. You needed to slow down a little
Look
to
at
keep
that.
it from slamming shut.
Uh-huh.
But also, you got a lot easier way of getting in and out. Because on
Oh.
a Fairmont car, there's a door about this wide in the middle.
Okay.
This door's 6 inches wider, and you can access the seat really easily, get in and out.
So this one's a little nicer, would you say, than that one? Or
It's kind of like a Cadillac of motor cars.
It is. Okay.
Like I said, they had heat in them.
Air conditioning or no?
No.
No.
Not enough engine for an air conditioner.
Ah, okay. Nice. Well, which one do you like better? Do you have a favorite, or are they kind of like kids? You like them all equally?
That was the first one we got, and I've always been probably more partial to that.
Okay.
But when you're going out on a really cold day when it's 25 or 30 degrees to ride,
Yeah.
this is the car you want.
Okay.
Or if it's raining, this is the car you want.
Okay.
Like I say, the drivetrain in both of them's identical. They run about the same speed.
Mm-hmm.
These are technically exactly the same car with a different cab on them.
Okay.
Everything underneath and powertrain's all the same.
How do you? You said you tour around the country. How do you move them then? Is it pretty? I guess how much do they weigh, and then how much do they pick
weigh
up?
Between 11 and 1,200 pounds.
Oh, we got a train over there. Not to interrupt you. There we go. Everybody wants to see the train. So how do you pick them up? I guess a crane, or
Well,
how do you have to have a special vehicle to move these around, or?
a flat trailer.
Oh, flat trailer. Okay.
That one.
Isn't that what Linton had, Candace?
Yes.
Okay.
That one tilts, so you don't need ramps.
Okay.
Got an enclosed trailer that'll haul two, and we've got some ramps made for that. And you just pull up next to the railroad tracks, and there's a winch in the trailer to let them out slow and pull them back up in there.
Okay. Very cool. Well, how many years have you been into the hobby of doing this, or?
Probably 15, 16 years.
Okay. All right. You want to show us a little bit how this works? Some of the mechanics, or probably people like us. I would imagine there's some people watching this who are into this, and then you have other people who have no clue how this all works. And then that's your logo we wanted to point out right there.
Yes.
The Burlington and Missouri River Railway, which Candace, I think we got to learn if you joined us 3 weeks ago in July. We told you the history of that a little bit. So
I could never find any history information through any of Burlington's archives of any kind of a logo for the railroad.
Huh.
So I just designed my own.
There you go. And this is the line we saw 3 weeks ago. This is where we walked down if you watched our last program. So we have the derail.
I think we're gonna get to go for a ride.
Think so?
Yeah.
Let's see how this works.
He's pulling a lot of knobs and levers there.
Ah. Alright.
It usually starts a lot better than that, but I haven't had it running before.
Boy, that was amazing. Right on the first start.
There you go.
Pretty cool. Wow.
All right. Well,
Are you gonna go? Or how are we gonna do this?
doesn't matter to me. I can go. You can go.
You wanna go?
I'll go.
We'll let her go on the first ride.
You guys can both go.
Oh, can we?
Both of you.
Oh,
One of
middle
you
seat.
Sit up front, one of you sit on the seat.
Where do you want
I'll
to?
sit there.
Yeah, sit sideways.
Alright. Now Ron's gonna be our switch master, I guess. This Candace is up front
Let's out
here.
of the yard here.
So how does this, what are all the buttons that you were, you want to show us some of this? How do you
The
operate?
on-off switch, the starter button, the horn, choke, your headlights, and your wipers.
Okay, so no key to start it, it's just a button.
It's a personal preference whether you want to put a key
Oh,
switch.
oh, you can if you want to.
Fairmont originally just had a pull button.
Okay.
Some people put key switches in them. You It's a personal preference kind of thing.
Okay.
I'm going to release the brake. Transmission forward. And we're going to make a short track.
Okay.
So ride number 2 for us.
It is.
This time by its own power.
It is, yes. Instead of Linton pushing us.
Well, we kind of glided down the Linton's hill.
Yes. What do you think?
This is pretty cool.
Oh, got a green. We're good. You just put it in reverse and...
Reverse. These cars go just as fast backwards as they do forwards.
Okay. What's the top speed? What could you get it to if you have you ever? Is there speed limits like on the railroad? Do you have to adhere to the?
Yeah, it's a matter of safety.
Okay.
It's like anything, you know. These cars, they say they'll go 35 or 40 miles an hour.
You could get that high?
It's like going 70 in a Model T going down the railroad tracks.
It's pretty rough, or?
It depends on the track.
Okay.
You don't ever want to go any faster than what's safe for the track condition.
Okay.
Safety first.
Yes, the whole
There you
object
go.
of this hobby is do not have any instances. No accidents.
That was a little rough.
Yes.
Going across the switch points and the frog.
Yep, the frog. Look at that. Of course, we're going to mention this is all on Ed's property here.
That's correct.
So,
We're here on Ed's
who
private
has
property.
track on there through their front or front yard, backyard? I don't know.
Side yard.
Side yard. Pretty cool. So, of all the, you said you've done a lot of routes. What's been your favorite? Maybe pick your favorite 2 routes across the country you've done in your time, or maybe 3 routes. What would have been your favorites?
There's a couple of rides up in southern Minnesota that are really good rides. The Minnesota Prairie
Okay.
and the Twin Cities in Western.
Okay.
Those
Yes.
are both really exceptionally good rides. We used to have a ride between Marshalltown, Iowa and Ackley, and that track's since been removed. That was always a really good ride also. A lot of mileage, good scenery along the rivers, and I'm just now getting into some of the rides that are farther away due to the COVID.
Okay.
We haven't been able to ride Boone this year, can't
Okay.
ride the Iowa Northern. They canceled both those Minnesota rides. So
Have you gone to California or anywhere like the
No.
Rockies or anything?
No.
You mostly just stuck around the Midwest then?
I'm thinking that's going to be my retirement years.
Because you work
I'm
full
still
time.
working
So,
full-time.
and I guess people are wondering. We've had some people ask us when they told they were going to head out here, what track can you run on? Because obviously, when a lot of our people think California Zephyr or Amtrak routes, the busy routes around Chicago, you're not going out and doing that obviously on those
No.
routes. Are these abandoned railroads, or are they mostly tourist, or are they like freight?
Mostly are tourist railroads or
Okay.
short lines.
Okay.
And basically what we do is we talk to the railroad, explain to them that we've got $10 million worth of liability insurance, and whether they would be interested in hosting us for a day.
Okay.
And some railroads provide us with a railroad escort.
Okay.
Some railroads just let us go ride.
Okay.
And the whole thing is about having permission. And we pay the railroads a fee.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it depends on how many cars we have, and some of it's a flat fee. But the railroad makes money, and we have a lot of fun. Our club's not in this to make money, it's to keep the hobby alive.
Okay.
And we make a little money, but the club has expenses because there's liability insurance for each individual affiliate, which there's several affiliates in the country. The insurance is, like I say, is done through the National Organization of NARCOA. And I just don't know how else to explain it, but it's really relaxing. You spend a day doing this, and most of your worries are gone.
Would any of the big railroads ever have a time that you could ride on them, or is that just not?
Generally, no.
That's not something that they.
They're too busy running trains, making money. Years ago, there were some rides on Burlington Northern.
Oh, they actually let groups come up that shut down a track or
on certain branch lines, but for the most part, their liability. They don't really want to take any chances. The short lines, they're being kind to us by letting us ride. And like I say, they make $500-600 for letting us ride during a day.
Yeah.
And the Boone and Scenic Valley, we ride there twice a year in the spring and the fall.
Okay.
And last year we made a donation to them. We've got a weed mower that we've put on basically permanent loan to them so they can take care of their track a little bit. But it's the short lines that are nice enough to let us ride is basically how this works.
And you can't just go on, like, let's say there is a recently abandoned line or something like that. You said permission is always important. You might be tempted, I would say, to, oh, this railroad line's abandoned, or maybe, oh, they don't run on the weekends. But you said that's something you really stress, is that you would never, people should never just go and do this without permission, because it could be very, very dangerous.
Even if that railroad's abandoned, somebody owns that.
Yeah.
And somebody, if you're out there and you have an accident, and the national organization with the insurance coverage, if it's not a sanctioned ride, your insurance doesn't qualify. These rides have to be set up with the railroads. Insurance papers have to be exchanged to make everything as safe as possible.
Okay.
And you just don't go out and just set your car on somewhere, because if you do and you get caught, well, you won't be riding NARCOA rides for a while.
Unless you happen to have a couple hundred feet of your own personal railroads, and how you got your...
This started as more of a test track for motor cars, and it's just gotten out of hand, actually.
Okay. Do all your fellow people in the club have their own test rail, or are you...
I'm probably about the only one. Some guys have some track. Here in Mount Pleasant, we have the Midwest Old Thrashers, and they have a trolley system. And if you go out there and ask them real nicely, and chances are they'll let you come ride your car out there for part of the day when they're not using the track. But I'd say you got to be respectful of other people's properties and rules. And safety, like I say, is the number one thing.
Nice. Well, can I hop out here and you take Candace down, and I get you a video of you guys, and then we'll I'll hop back on maybe here, just so people can see what it looks like from the outside. Yeah, let's do that. And you get to go in the... Oh, look at that! All right, you two don't have too much fun now. Don't go too far. know. Look at that.
Coming back?
Oh, yes. Does that one ride pretty much like this one then, too?
There's not a whole lot of difference.
About the skills the same. And
Like I say, they're the exact same chassis with a different body on it.
okay. How many of these do you own? Because I see some in your shops back there, too.
I've got 3, and I think Ron's got 4 or 5.
So total between the two of you got like 8 of these things? Do you have your own channel so you can talk to the other motor cars? And
The national organization has their own. They have 3 frequencies they can use that are registered with the FCC.
okay.
Keep everybody in front of the operation and the back of the operation in contact with each other.
Gotcha. All right. Very cool. So what are your thoughts of this?
Well, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, we might have to look at getting them one of these.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small car. I mean, we could trade your car. We could sell your car
Oh, okay.
and buy a motor car.
Okay.
And then you can take it back and forth to work.
Yeah. There we go. I could.
This couple hundred feet of riding here doesn't do this justice. You get out with 15 or 20 other people, and you're riding 100 miles. You might ride 50 miles out, 50 miles back. Let's say this little short ride here doesn't compare with how much fun the hobby is.
Do you go, when you do the rides, do you go like one way and then someone moves your car? Or do you like meet you with your truck like kind of a canoe at the other end? Or do you usually go round trip and...
Almost all of them are round trip.
Are they in a day?
We'll start at a certain point, and it could be in the middle of the railroad somewhere. Just depends on where the railroad wants to let us ride.
Okay.
You ride out however many miles they get the ride set up for. Usually that's a place for lunch. You might have somebody cater you a meal. We've had railroads we have local historical societies that they will make us a meal. And we help support them. Other places we'll get in contact with a certain restaurant and they'll cook for us and expect us. And then there's a few places that you're just on your own. There's always a Casey's General Store or a Subway.
Casey's, yes. We've discovered Casey's while doing a lot of these Midwest virtual programs over the last...
Casey's in Wisconsin?
Yes, we northern Wisconsin does.
Really?
Southern, not so much around Milwaukee. But we love Casey's, their pizza. We always stop for Casey's Pizza. How much a year, can I ask, does it, how much maintenance time, and for someone who does want to get into this hobby, on average, the amount of time it takes you in a year to maintain one of these, and then the approximate cost. So if I invested money in them, am I going to invest a lot of time maintaining these, or is it not a big maintenance cost whatsoever? It just depends on...
As far as keeping the oil changed, it just depends on how much you ride.
Okay.
Inspection is very important. You need to go over your car, check your brakes, brake rigging, grease your wheel bearings, things like that.
Yeah.
To make sure, my goal is to make sure that I ride all day.
Okay.
I've known some people in the past that the last time they rode their car was 2 years ago, and now they want to ride and they show up and it won't run. We have an inspection program. Your first ride of the year, you fill out an inspection form. You look at all these things on your car that's on the form, and you fill out the form, you take it, and every affiliate has a safety director, and you won't be allowed to ride until the safety director has that form, and he'll come check some of the things on your car to make sure that you just didn't go down the list and check them all off and sign them.
Okay.
Somebody will come check some of the things, and mostly it's wheel thickness and brake shoes, because those are the most important things we have.
Okay.
Lights are important. You have to run with your lights on to make sure you're seen by cars, because we don't make the crossing gates work.
That was going to be one of my questions when you cross. Especially, do you guys ever go in a city where there's a lot of traffic, or do you try to do these in more rural?
We'll start on the edge of a city somewhere.
Okay.
And ride outward. Try to avoid a lot of road crossings because these things are small. The cars don't see them.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to make sure that crossing's safe to go across.
And they don't set off the gates and the lights.
No, these were designed not to do that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The wheels are all insulated through the brake shoe rigging and stuff, so they will not activate track signals or crossing gates.
Okay.
And the railroad wants it that way. There's the club out west. They are experimenting with making it so that the motor cars will make the crossing gates work, but the motor cars sometimes don't because they're not heavy enough to make a good contact. If the rail's rusty, because it has to go through the wheels, through the axles to get a circuit. Even if that works, it's still your responsibility to make sure that crossing is clear, because not all crossings have arms on them. Some of them just have lights.
Okay.
And in the cell phone age, there's a lot of people not paying attention to where they're going to begin with. They don't even see you.
Yeah.
So like I say, safety's number one with us. And it's your responsibility to operate safely and cross roads safely. Everybody goes home.
Nice.
Nobody goes to the hospital. That's the whole goal.
Very cool. So it's just more the relaxing way to relax on a Saturday or Sunday, one of your off days. That's really what has appealed to you for this hobby. And
you maintain a safe distance from the car in front of you.
or the Candace in front of you.
And like I say, we can go anywhere from 15 to 20 miles an hour, depending on the railroad.
Wow.
Some railroads you can go 25. You don't have to worry about running off the edge of the road. Rails take care of that for you.
Yeah.
As long as you pay attention to what's going on in front of you, you can get the scenery. A lot of times, I'll drive part of the time. Ron will drive part of the time, so we can look around, see what's going on.
Like here, it's I know this is just your property here, but very beautiful, especially for us who lived in the city for most of our lives. We live in more rural areas, but to us, this farm country is just with the rolling hills and everything. It's just pretty to look at out here too. But go along the river, and it's been a fun way to spend a summer day. Do you do this in all kinds of weather, or do you mostly? I would imagine we saw the Milwaukee Road one, which was enclosed, but do you ever do these rides on real railroads in the? And do you do them in the winter time too, or is this a summertime and fall and spring kind of thing?
Mostly it's just those 3 seasons.
Okay.
There are some rides that take place in the winter in the southern states.
Okay.
Where it doesn't get quite so cold. We've had rides here in Iowa. The moon ride, for example, there's been days it's been 20 degrees when we've left the depot.
Wow.
It warms up to 40 or 50 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We've had rides where we rode in the snow.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Does it perform well in snow too? These cars, or not heavy snow, I would imagine, but
the track gets wet. It really decreases your stopping power.
So it's that kind of the stopping and the breakage.
If it's raining or it's snowing, you got to leave a lot more distance between you and the car in front of you.
Okay.
But if it's cold enough to snow, I think it's too cold to ride the motor car.
You people in southern Iowa, I tell you.
I agree.
Come to Northwest Wisconsin. We'll show you 50 below. We'll take you out. We'll take you out as hardy people in the Northland.
I work outside all day every day.
So there you go. I won't say anything.
It limits a little bit of my love for the snow.
There you go. So do you plan to purchase any more, or or you're happy with the ones you have?
What I've got going on.
Okay. So I didn't know if it was like a hobby where you just want to, once you have one or two, you just want to buy, oh, there's an upgrade, and oh, there's another upgrade, and if it's kind of
like a car or a cell phone or...
Yeah.
Let's see. I've always been really happy with this car. It's always I've never had to be towed home yet.
Is that what happens if you break down?
Yeah. They give you 5 or 10 minutes to work on it, and if you can't get it corrected, then somebody puts the tow bar on, and you just can't sit out in the middle of nowhere all day long trying to fix something that maybe you can't fix.
And other question: when you go on these routes, do you have like, do you stay with the group?
Yes.
Or can you kind of lag back a little bit, or do you have like a time frame, like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then everybody can kind of go at their own pace, or are you kind of expected to keep up?
You need to stay within sight of the car ahead of you.
Do you? Okay.
Because we want to get to wherever we're going on time for lunch.
Okay.
And turn around and get back, because the railroad, they want us off the track by a certain time of day.
Okay. Are you ever able to do this as an individual, or do you really have to be part of the group? Like, could you arrange yourself with a railroad, or is it just a lot easier to do it as a group?
It all goes back to that liability insurance.
So if you do it yourself, you're not part of the group, and you're not covered.
Yeah, if you were to buy a $10 million liability policy
Yourself.
of your own,
Gotcha.
I don't think you could afford it.
No, okay. So that's the advantage. Besides having fun with friends.
And we've got somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 members on the national level, and not everybody buys insurance and rides every year, but a lot of people do, so there's a pretty good amount of money goes into the insurance fund, and let's say it covers everybody.
So are you ever tempted to go right on the main line? Because we showed you last time, right over there, that's the tree line is the main line of the CB&Q, the California Zephyr runs right there. Have you ever tempted, do you want to just ride on there someday?
Well, like the commercials say, expect a train from any direction at any time.
Yeah.
You don't know. It would be a real unwise thing to try.
Has anybody ever done that? Tried to take their motor car out, or?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. People are pretty smart in this hobby, which is a good thing. I guess it's all back to the safety.
Safety is paramount.
Yeah. Very cool. Do you have to have a like a CDL, or do you even need a driver's license? Like,
they have a testing process, and they issue an operator's card.
Okay.
And you have to pass a written test, and like I say, you have to be mentored after you get your operator certificate. First ride you go on, somebody that a club official or somebody that's been doing this a long time, that knows the ins and outs and the rights and wrongs, they will ride with you for half a day to make sure that you understand how to do this, that, the safety. And the mentoring program is a great thing. You've got a lot of safe operators this way.
I'm looking at your board here, and I see that it was made in Minnesota, right here in the Midwest.
Yes,
Fairmont. That's why it's called a Fairmont. Okay. Very cool.
It's now Harsco Track Technologies, and I think they're located in South Carolina now.
Okay.
They still make track equipment. They probably still make high rail gear for pickups, but
very cool.
As far as motor cars, not anymore.
So absolutely nobody is making these anymore.
No.
So these really will be, I mean, they're already, you said, 20, 30 years old, but these will be really even more of an antique.
There's guys that are riding one-cylinder, two-stroke cars that are 50, 60 years old on rides all the time.
But this will become even more unique because you can't buy a new one.
Right.
It's pretty cool. Any other questions before we head back?
I think we're good. I think we're ready to head back to the depot.
All right.
All right.
right, guys.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So how many do you? So what got you into? We haven't had a chance to talk to you. But we got about 10 minutes or so before we got to head out. What got you into the hobby?
Ed got me into the hobby.
So you
Like
can
said,
blame him.
That's the one that started it all, and then it just grew from there.
And what?
Motor cars are like cats. If you have one, you have to have more. So
You got to have at least 5. Once you start having more cats than motor cars, though, I don't know. How many do you own then?
1, 2, 5 of them, I guess. So.
Okay. Do you keep them here too, or
Yeah, they're all in storage out here in various places. So.
Okay. Which is your favorite one out of the 5?
I don't have any that
are they all like
operational
cats? You
yet,
love them
so.
all. Okay.
Probably my favorite one is I have a car that I acquired several years ago up in Austin, Minnesota.
Oh.
That was sitting in a guy's backyard, and it was a situation kind of like Ed's got here. The former Chicago Great Western track from Hayfield, Minnesota, down to Mason City and on out to Omaha went right through his property. And of course, the track's abandoned, but the motor car was sitting right there on the original right-of-way of the Chicago Great Western. It's a Chicago Great Western motor car, so that's probably going to be the favorite one. So
Okay.
yeah.
And what's I asked him this, but as for you, what of all the routes that you've done, maybe pick your top 2 favorite routes and tell us why they were your favorite routes to take a motor car on?
Well, top 2 for me, probably the base trackage into Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh.
We ride down there not every single year, but usually once a year. And that is just, it's down in the Ozark Mountains, and it's just spectacular. It's almost like being in the mountains. I mean, I guess you are technically in the Ozark Mountains, but it almost gives you a feel when you leave that base of being in Colorado. It's just, the scenery's spectacular. You run along a river there for quite a ways. There's a really impressive big steel overhead truss bridge with a huge curved timber approach on one side. And probably second favorite for me would be one that unfortunately we don't ride and can't ride and never will ride again. And that's the Iowa River Railroad between Marshalltown and Ackley, Iowa, because that track all got torn out. But that was about 43 miles of pretty nice scenic running right down through the Iowa River Valley with a couple of spectacular bridges. And I guess if there's any consolation of that, part of that at least is going to become a bike trail. A part of it already is a short bike trail, but they're eventually going to try to bike trail most of that. But that was a fantastic ride for us for a long time up there. That was former Minneapolis and St. Louis mainline track between Oskaloosa and the Twin Cities. So.
And one thing that I've kind of noticed is with this hobby is, and maybe you can touch on that a little bit before we wrap up here. Whereas the last year and a half now we've been dealing with COVID and all that. I would think this is kind of an appealing hobby for maybe people who are a little worried about going on a train ride. This is something where you can still be out in the fresh air and be a little bit safer than maybe people would feel. Has COVID had a big impact on the hobby, positively or negatively? Have a lot of people in the last few months, have they joined more of these clubs, or has it had a negative impact on?
I hate to say so, but I would say overall it's had a negative impact. And
really?
Due to the fact that a lot of our scheduled rides this year have been canceled. Due to one simple fact, I think. Most of the trackage we ride, obviously, because we can't ride on BNSF, UP, all the big guys, riding motor cars on their tracks is just a no-go. It doesn't happen because of liability.
Yeah.
So we have to ride on short line railroads, and a lot of the short line railroads, as everyone well knows, they might be operating their entire railroad with 6, 8, 10 people, and I think they're all pretty worried, and probably rightfully so, that somebody's going to drag COVID into their guys, and then if they get 3 or 4 of their guys sick and quarantined, it makes operating the railroad a little tough. So
yeah.
So we've had a lot of rides shut down this year for that reason, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a great hobby, like Ed said.
It was fun. It was fun.
Lots of fun.
Kind of the sky's the limit. I mean, I guess if you didn't have a car and wanted to, between buying a cheap car, buying a trailer, let's just assume you already have a pickup truck of some kind that's capable of pulling a trailer, or something that can pull a trailer. But if you got a vehicle that can pull something, and you could probably get into this for as little as a few $1,000s.
I was going to ask
a car that runs.
Do they have rent-a-cars? Like if you want to get your beak wet or your feet wet or whatever you want to get wet in this hobby without actually buying one, are there places where you can rent these just to see if you enjoy it, and then say maybe this is a hobby that I want to get into? Or
not that I know of, Ed. Do you know of anything? I don't think.
Hey, there's a business opportunity for the four of us.
Anything like that I know
rent a motor car.
However,
Enterprise, Alamo. Okay.
We're always looking for new interested people, so we'd encourage you to.
Do you have a website? Do you have?
The NARCOA website is just www.narcoa.org.
All right, we'll throw that on the bottom of the screen here. Narcoa.org. All right, we'll put that on the screen.
Go on there, and there's cars for sale on there. There's operational information on there as far as what it takes to get into the hobby. What do I need to do to start this? But there's full ride listings on there of every chapter throughout the country. So you can get on, look around, and see if there's a ride near you. We're always looking for and welcoming new members. So if you're interested, come to a ride nearby and check things out.
Well, that was certainly fun. That was fun. So, any other questions? Or
I don't have any questions, but. Hopefully we'll be available. If you guys have questions, we can try to answer them the best that we can. And if we don't know the answer, we'll make it up and you won't know the difference.
That's always a good policy. Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. Our next virtual tour will be August 22nd.
Toot toot.
And we're going to take you on a ride at the Boone Scenic Railroad.
Nice. Have you guys been up there?
We have.
You've done the motor car. That's
we ride motor cars up there normally twice a year.
So are we?
It's a beautiful operation. A lot of nice equipment. A lot of really nice, friendly people.
So now we're gonna come to Iowa in another 2 weeks. We're gonna come back to Iowa.
Yes, I'm gonna make you come back.
Yeah,
we just love Iowa, and congratulations on your three-peat. Now you've done 3 of our programs. Now you're an honorary rail ranger. Congratulations.
Yeah, wonderful. So.
All right, guys. We'll see you August 22nd for our next tour.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.